Hello, everyone. Welcome to another R2F Weekly Market Analysis. Today, I'll be looking at most forex pairs. Of course, I'll be starting with the dollar index and then going through some forex pairs, major pairs, and I'll go through two forex minor pairs just to have a look. I'll also look at gold, the oil futures contract, and Bitcoin. All right, so as usual, we have a look at the dollar index. Starting on the monthly, it's not a new month yet. It's still the um, second week, going into the third week of May. All right, so what I had on my eyes was this monthly SIBI that got traded into. Price came down to this order block and started pushing up. Price closed up pretty high to this bearish order block, closed right through the monthly gap, and the next month of May, still this month, is now within that monthly gap. So the candle hasn't closed. If the candle closed like this, I'd be a bit more inclined to think we'd be bearish. Of course, it might close even lower, which in case I would definitely be bearish for the time being. Where? Most likely until 1 year, this 1 year Bisi here. If we go to the 12 month, there's a gap here on the 1 year. You can go look at the previous analysis to see what my thoughts were. An analysis was on price coming into these yearly gaps. Okay, so the yearly Bisi here is an interesting target. Go to the 6 months, still an interesting target. Price may come down one more time before possibly moving higher. And my bias is that the dollar will move higher. However, we will see if it moves higher from this monthly gap or we move lower. As I said, if we close the month here through the gap, I'd be looking to take the gap for a possible retracement to be used as resistance and possibly look for a trade within this gap on a weekly time frame, on a daily time frame, etc. Okay, so I've annotated the previous month's high, previous year's high and previous year's low. Give me a second. Okay. So with that in mind, I'll go down to the weekly chart. We saw a weekly Bisi get traded through, just like my idea with the monthly gap. If we get a close like this, expect a retracement inside the gap and then expansion lower. So at this point, we'll have to see what happens when price moves even lower here. If we go into the 2 week, okay, no gaps there. So we still have the 1 week, and I think if we go to lower time frames, we can have a better idea. Price should take out this low, but anything can happen. We see a daily gap here. Price gets traded into, and then we close here. Yeah, this seems like a high probability that price may move even lower from here. Perhaps come deeper into this weekly, this daily order block, or possibly down here, and possibly into this yearly gap. What I like about it, as I said, is this buy side liquidity in the form of equal highs, relatively clean here as well, and the amount of inefficiencies and imbalance up here would make a good target eventually. So we'll be waiting for more clues. Let's go to the euro. With that in mind, possibly expecting lower prices on the dollar. That means higher prices on euro. See the monthly close here. We see the weekly. Perhaps I use this chart here. Okay, no worries. Can't find my annotations from before. But we had this monthly, I could say, balanced price range. Over here, just let me highlight that. And it's not changing color for some reason. Weekly, monthly. Okay, I just see my internet is quite slow. Yeah, so we had a retracement into it, an expansion higher, total range of almost, I guess, 280 pips, almost 300 pips from the bottom to the high. Started moving lower, we came lower into this area. I have a model that looks like this. It's called the wick sandwich. Basically a wick in between two body candles, and if you're expecting higher prices or looking for a possible area for a reaction, this is usually one that I look for, and I have my own criteria. But let's have a look at the weekly gap here too, used as support. You see the price, you see this candle. Okay, just let me annotate the weekly CB here. That became an inversion fair value gap. Okay, the price color is not changing, whatever. And we see this candle, weekly candle, come right into it, and boom, off to the races, right? So took out this liquidity pool here, possibly targeting here, maybe even higher. Okay, on the weekly, on the daily, yeah, same thing, more clues. Bisi here, I want to see that be used as support, which is, it kind of is. We'll see what happens on Monday. There's a nice gap here as well with a wick. That's also very high probability. On the weekly, it's around this high. And if we go lower, there's a more clear gap here. This is a nice area, I believe. Okay, that's for euro. Same thing for the pound. Came into this gap. Now we're expanding higher, possibly into this gap over here. And the liquidity within this trend line and equal highs here look nice as well. Okay. As usual, with the dollar possibly going lower and pairs that start with the end with the dollar last in the ticker, they will move higher. So on the month, nothing on the month. On the weekly, we're closing above this weekly gap. So what I would like to see for New Zealand dollar against the US dollar is to come back here, possibly, and then move higher from there. All right, weekly on the Australian dollar. I think the monthly would be similar, nothing much. Just to annotate this gap here, you can see the, it's not changing color. Anyway, you can see the body is respecting this gap and the wicks coming through. As mentioned many times before, the wicks do the damage, but the bodies, they tell the story. Okay, so expecting higher prices where liquidity equal highs. Nice places to target over here. If you go down to the weekly, you can have a clear look. These highs look nice. Possibly into targeting this area. From where? Nothing on the weekly yet. Although there's this weekly gap, price could trade into that again. Weekly CB used as an inversion gap. This is on the weekly. Okay, if we go on the daily, we saw the daily come into here. There's a daily Bisi here. Okay, gaps are indicative of institutional sponsorship and these market maker models. If there's no inefficiencies or fair value gaps, it is quite dodgy to trade. All right. Very nice gaps being formed. This one too. This may just move higher from there. May retrace again later. We will see. And let's look at pairs starting with the dollar. So they should be moving lower, technically, but not always. So this is a month, and this is a monthly gap. So monthly Bisi, technically price should go higher if we were bullish, but let's keep things in mind. All right, we'll go down to the weekly. Where's the monthly gap? And it is gone. All right, something's wrong with TradingView today. No problem. I think the gap appeared again. That was it. Yeah, this was what I was anticipating before. So it seems possible for price to come up above these equal highs and into this monthly gap. This is very nice. I like this gap because it's a unicorn gap. Price took out the liquidity here, and then it's basically a gap with a breaker, and it looks very clean. However, price also came into this gap, ignoring this crazy wicks formed on forex.com. Swiss franc dollar, dollar Swiss francs, and the dollar yen are quite highly manipulated. So having leverage positions swing positions is not always the best. Okay, so dollar yen is just at all-time highs now, and now it can retrace down to the middle. Came into that weekly gap you saw there. Now in this gap and this gap, so it's sandwiched in between inefficiencies. Basically, it's sandwiched in between premium and discount arrays, right? It came to this discount here, expanded, came into this premium, so we may move down from here. Is there anything else on a lower time frame that I could spot? Inefficiencies here, so that we'll have to see what happens. It's at all-time highs, so dollar CAD. Okay, there are buy-side liquidity up here. I think which will eventually be taken. When? I don't know. Nice liquidity above these highs as well. Price came into that monthly. I think it was okay. Maybe it was like a 3 or 4 month gap. Say it's a 3-month gap. Took out some previous month's highs, 3-month highs, but now we're currently here. So let's go down to the weekly. Came up, came down again, up here. And now we've traded below this Bisi again. So we may move actually lower to where? Maybe this equal lows here first. Into the inefficiencies breaker here. So one scenario, possible scenario. Price come here, and then come up. Or as gold made a triple top once, may come up again, pretty near. Come down and then go up, or come through it slightly, but not enough to be a continuation higher, just a manipulation, and lower again, and then up. Okay, those are some possibilities. But currently we are in this range. So there's not too much to be said about that, especially on the monthly. Okay, two popular pairs, Euro Pound and Pound Yen. Popular minor pairs. Again, for this pair, not too much to be said. There's a gap here. Price traded into it, spiked up. Some relative equal highs. Okay. What I can notice, price came into this monthly order block. Seems like it may move lower. Okay. Chop into this gap. Chop. And we may see a very large volatile drop off. It would seem. Daily. Okay. Into this daily order block. There's a daily opening gap here as well. Up. And now we're here. Close pretty much at the low of the day on Friday. Okay. Gold. People love gold. Very popular pair. See, gold's at almost at all-time highs. But previous month, close to the top. I think at this point, everybody's trying to call a top, trying to short gold. But it's going to push higher and higher until people are just going to start feeling bullish about it, and then eventually come back down for a large retracement or crash. So we came into this gap, and now we're just pushing higher. Now we go down to the daily, look for more contacts for possible entry, maybe back into this order block. So the 12-hour, 8-hour, possible continuation area is inside this gap, which is also an order block. And this is order block here with this wick. So wicks are kind of gaps as well. See, we had a gap here. 10-hour price retrace, price continued, retraced again, continued. Let's go to 12-hour, same thing, daily. Yeah, so we may see a retracement into there, or you can wait for a longer one because it's quite at a premium. You may have to wait for a deeper retracement or more information on higher time frames. All right, let's look at oil quickly. Light crude oil futures. So I have a yearly gap in here, but as we know, price went to sub-zero, and now we're playing around inside this yearly gap a little bit. Close in the middle, came down, and now we're expanding higher. So we may be going for higher prices. Came all the way to the low on the 6 month of the yearly gap. Okay, expanded, closed below into this, let's say a wick sandwich as well. Expanded up into this monthly gap, and now we're in this monthly inversion gap inside a monthly Bisi. So we have two confluences there for possibly higher prices. Okay, the orange is also a monthly, and this one is an inversion. I'll delete this one. So now we're both in those areas. And let's see, this is actually the midpoint. The reaction on the monthly around the midpoint of this yearly gap. So I think we could be moving higher. Let's go to the weekly. Okay. So let me see. All right. I'll just highlight this in green as it should be. Okay, so we have a weekly gap in here. What I would like to see is a good close above it. Price possibly coming into this weekly order block, bearish order block, possibly retrace and then move higher. Okay, I want to see how we close above this this inversion gap. If it closes quite higher, we could use this order block as a reclaim block and look for a entry when price retrades back into it, such as that in this area. Okay, if we're feeling bullish, but first we'll see how we react here. Lastly, last but not least, one of the more popular pairs now besides gold, I think, is Bitcoin. So what happened? Bitcoin broke all-time highs, big retracement into this monthly fair value gap, and now we're expanding higher. So it left pretty quick. So it seems that it is quite eager to move higher. There's some choppiness, you could say accumulation on the weekly, right down into the last stab of this monthly. Bum bum. Came all the way up. One more reaccumulation here. You can call it head and shoulders if you want. But we don't do retail patterns here. We see what price is actually doing. And now we're here. Okay, this is the BTC USDT chart. So it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is running. Let's go down to the 12-hour. All right, so now we're in this 12-hour gap. Something you can observe for yourself. We traded into it, and now we're moving higher. Where? Likely here. One could frame a trade like that. See that low? Somewhere into here, right? It could be a possible trade. If you're expecting lower prices, more into this gap or lower. That's also possible, but I think we had a daily gap here, price traded, use it as support, and now we should be moving higher first. I would say midpoint of this wick, more into the gap or the bodies here, take partials. But let's go to the 4 hour, see if there's an actual trade in here. We can go to the 1 hour. I don't see anything on the 4 hour. Okay. 1 hour, we're here. Yeah, let's see if price just goes up from here based on our higher time frame analysis, such as this 12-hour gap. Okay, targeting where? Those areas. Weekly, yeah, nothing much. So we may be seeing all-time highs pretty soon. Yeah, especially with a lower dollar, but we're expecting dollar to go high eventually, sooner or later. But let's not put too much commitment into one bias. Let the candles just show us when it happens, and when we do see something like the dollar just blasting off into space, then we already have the anticipation of that, right? Okay, so that's it for this week's R2F Weekly Market Analysis. If you have any questions or you want me to look at a certain pair, I'd be glad to. I have many crypto pairs on here, indices, which I also didn't look at, but I will do next week. Until next time, R2F signing out. Have a great trading week ahead. Goodbye.